Welcome, everyone. First, I hope everyone is healthy and safe and doing what they need to stay that way. My name is Andrea Ray, and I have the pleasure to serve as the President CEO at the Chamber. And on behalf of our board and staff, welcome to our SMART Southside Mitigation and Recovery Task Force webinar on cybersecurity, especially for remote work in this COVID era. As so many businesses and workers are having to make the shift to work from home, many challenges and questions have risen to the surface about how to maintain security offsite and onsite. We're glad that you have joined us today to learn more about implementing best practices. This copyrighted webinar is presented by the Seattle Southside Chamber of Commerce and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the Chamber. Thank you to our sponsors, South King Media. Scott and Teresa Schaefer have been tireless advocates for our community. As small businesses themselves, they are dedicated to helping other small businesses grow, as well as keeping our community connected and informed. Scott is broadcasting this webinar live on Facebook now so that even more people are able to watch and join and ask questions. And we're recording as well so that those of you who aren't able to join live can still access this important information later at your convenience. For those of us who are joining on Facebook, we would love to have you jump on our Zoom platform so that you can also have complimentary security assessment provided by Fuse Networks. The link is right there at the bottom, and Scott's going to go ahead and put it into the comment section on the Facebook live broadcast when he can as well. Again, that is the best way to access all of the information where you can ask your questions to Aaron directly. And you will also receive a complimentary free security assessment. So again, thank you so much for joining through Zoom. Thank you also to our additional sponsor, Alaska Airlines, our hometown airline. We have a brief video to go ahead and play for you, courtesy of Alaska Airlines. Megan, why don't we go ahead and play that video now?
When we say take care, we mean it. As soon as COVID-19 hit, we moved quickly to implement nearly 100 actions to give our guests peace of mind when they fly. You'll see our commitment to next-level care in everything we do. And when it's time to fly, we'll be ready to take your travels to the next level too. Thank you for choosing us.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to all of our members. Our chamber will continue to produce webinars and virtual events on subjects impacting our community. On November 6th, we hope that you'll join us as we hear from the Regional Tourism Authority as they give an update on their projects and initiatives to support tourism recovery. You can register for all of our webinars and virtual events, as well as view our past events at seattlesouthsidechamber.com. We know providing opportunities to share information and connect will make our community stronger and ready for recovery. We hope you can join us for more of these opportunities, and if you or your company is able to donate or sponsor our work so that we can continue to serve our community in and through every challenge, it would be greatly appreciated. Even every little bit helps. Even a donation of $1 brings us closer to recovery and helps keep our nonprofit strong and able to serve our community. Thank you. Just a few housekeeping notes. Again, as I mentioned, the best experience happens when you join us through Zoom. If you are joining us through Zoom, you can go ahead and put your questions for Aaron into the Q&A function. If you are watching on Facebook, you can go ahead and put those questions into the comment section, and we will do our best to get to those after Aaron's presentation. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Aaron Siverts with Fuse Networks, who will be our guest presenter today. Aaron is a native to the Seattle area and graduated with a finance degree from Central Washington University in 2001. He spent the early days of his career in real estate, working with builders and development, but always had an interest in technology. In 2011, he pursued his curiosity in the technology world as a client services manager, assembling project teams for development projects and initiatives. Spending the last 4 years in consulting, he has helped many companies maximize potential and efficiencies in their IT investments. In his spare time, Aaron enjoys spending time with his two young boys, Preston and Parker, and likes to get out on the golf course, ride dirt bikes, and is an avid Seahawks fan. So I have to say, go Hawks! Woohoo! Blue Friday. We're grateful you made time to be here with us today, Aaron, and of course, walk us through cybersecurity. Aaron, take it away.
Thanks, Andrea. Much appreciated. And thanks to Alaska Airlines for sponsoring this. I hope our CFO, Chief Football Officer, Russell Wilson, performs very well on Sunday night. So the game has moved to a night game, which we always have an opportunity to do a little bit better for some reason. But well, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to talk about kind of productivity weapons and security and how to get tactical with that. Next slide, please. A little bit about Fuse Networks. We've been providing professional IT managed services and support for businesses in and around the Puget Sound area since 2009. We strive to give our clients enterprise level services and solutions at prices that work for small businesses. Time and experience has enabled us to build a proactive approach that aligns technology, people, and process to deliver on our promise to our clients. And through that approach, we've created a competitive advantage that allows you to keep the focus on your business and not your IT. But our mission really is to be the trusted partner that transforms technology into an asset by taking the time to understand the business before layering on our best-in-class support, proactive tools, and strategic oversight. Next slide, please. So today's agenda, we're going to start out talking a little bit about transitioning to remote work and then leading practices for working remotely. What does secure behavior look like? Simplifying your arsenal, and then we'll talk a little bit about internal IT versus outsourced IT, and end out with who is Fuse Networks and why you should care. Next slide, please. The first portion going to be transitioning to remote work. Next slide, please. So what if COVID-19 changes the way we work for the better? Everything is about productivity. We can use technology to remind people about things like paying bills, upcoming appointments, and even submitting timesheets and work documents. When we help a business use technology efficiently, we're ensuring that after we are done, there's a net positive and time saved with the technology installed. And if it could be something as simple as, the Wi-Fi being faster, or, allowing people to connect more easily, or it can be something as involved as improving a workflow for file sharing, saving each employee's minutes, per week. Timing is everything, right? And we only have a certain amount of time. So back in 2018, Gartner highlighted 4 different questions that really kind of determined what remote work success looked like. Do we trust, our employees to do their work even if we can't see them? Do we have the kind of work that can be done remotely? Do we have employees who want to work remotely? And do we have the technology infrastructure to support remote work? I guess the question, to really ask yourself is how would you answer these questions now and answer them honestly? How would those answers be different COVID, pre-March this year? Next slide, please. So if necessity is the mother of invention, then COVID-19 is definitely the father of transformation. So, in pre-COVID, remote work was limited. There was distrust towards employees working from home. There was little to no security for bringing your own devices and work from home scenarios. There was a lot of fear of change as we've done things the same way for so long. And, the company culture really revolved around what goes on in the office. We've all heard the term, the water cooler crew, everything like that too. But now post-COVID, remote work is set up securely. Productivity and trust are established through forced transition to remote work. New protocols and processes for business operations have taken place. Collaboration and communication improvements have definitely taken place. And, the company culture revolves around its people now, and how we are able to collaborate remotely and keep that office culture alive. So I found this great quote from Sandy Shen. It's a wake-up call for organizations that have placed too much focus on daily operational needs at the expense of investing in digital business and long-term resilience. Businesses that can shift technology capacity and investments to digital platforms will mitigate the impact of the outbreak and keep their companies running smooth now and over the long term. So with remote work, a lot of people have really realized that now it's an overdue new norm, as we've really transitioned into this remote perspective and slowly getting used to it. I think, change that happens overnight is a shock to some, but as we've eased into it, it's gotten quite a bit easier. So as we're forced to help, or as we were forced to let go of misconceptions, we can finally embrace the fact that remote workers are actually more productive. You have an average of 1.4 more days every month, or 16.8 more days every year. And it's estimated that a typical employer can save an average of $11,000 per half-time telecommuter per year. The primary savings are the result of increased productivity, lower real estate costs, reduced absenteeism and turnover. So when we do transition to remote work, here's some proper ways to set up a successful work from home scenario. Number one, you definitely have to identify requirements. 2, set expectations. 3, maintain communications. 4, protect your endpoints. And 5, definitely secure continuity. So identifying requirements, what does your staff need to do their jobs effectively from home? Equipment, software, productivity tools, collaboration tools. Second, what apps and documents do they need access to? Access is a major thing, and securely being able to access those documents is another deal. And then, also meet with each team as necessary to assess these needs and brainstorm ways to meet them. As we've transitioned into the COVID period and the remote era, it's still imperative to ask your employees, how is this working now for you? And see how those answers shift. Setting expectations, is providing a clear outline of how meetings and collaboration work should be conducted. Taking extra care to monitor and mediate who contributes to meetings. Although everyone might not feel comfortable at first, all teammates should be encouraged to participate and share their thoughts. Additional things to consider include potential changes for work hours or provisions for employees working at home alongside children or other professionals. When you really look at statistics, there's a large percentage of people that have to self-school or school their kids, and that can slide into the business day. So again, setting the expectations on what time permission is there and dedicated to that, and what actually is getting done too. Maintaining communication. You want to deliver a remote work experience that's as business as usual as possible. And in accomplishing this, employees and managers working remotely should communicate with one another just as much as they do in the office. So chat, phone calls, video conferencing can all keep everybody connected. Teammates should be encouraged to participate in video calls, as they more accurately mirror in-person meetings and reinforce, social bonds in the workplace. Again, communication is paramount in any business, and keep remote work as business as usual and possible, to communicate with one another and use the tools that you have in place to collaborate. And if you don't feel that you have those tools, talk to your staff about that, and talk to your superiors to see what you can do to achieve or to get those. Protecting your endpoints, this is the crucial part that many companies miss and trust that their remote workers are securely connected. People working from personal devices can unfortunately have a negative impact on cybersecurity, and providing access to remote desktop services, virtual private networks, VPNs, and virtual desktops can help employees continue their work out of office without compromising systems. Endpoint protection solutions can also come in handy to protect mobile devices such as laptops, tablets, and smartphones. One thing that you can do as well too, many of us have Comcast for cable and our internet. If you're not aware, one great thing that you can do is contact Comcast, as you can have free Norton antivirus, which also will set up a VPN for your home and your mobile devices too. So it just continues with that security continuity. And with that being said, next slide, please. you really need to confirm internally that you have secure continuity, and relevant solutions for online backup and data recovery should be an essential part of your remote work plan. Confirming that your systems are fully redundant and that you remain compliant with any acceptable data protection and privacy regulations is huge. And so what processes do you have in place if a breach takes place? These are definite, that's a definite question you need to ask. Okay, business transformation and productivity. Next slide. So the way you're doing business is changing, pandemic or not. How do you feel about the cost of office space now, post-pandemic? Do all of your employees work in the same office? Do you have contractors or other businesses that help you? Such as accountant, bookkeepers, virtual assistants. How many logins to different sites and applications do you have and use on a daily or weekly basis? And how do you share files between colleagues and clients? So wasted time and money. Saving just 5 minutes a day at 20 bucks an hour is around $40 a month, or almost $500 per year. What in your business do you spend $500 a year on that you could probably either use more efficiently or effectively and stop using, or start using to make your business more efficient? The number one expense to a business isn't new computers or another truck for the road, it's payroll. Using technology to improve productivity can save your business from hiring another employee until you bring on 10 more clients, or stop bringing on another employee altogether because we have automated the process now. So daily inefficiencies add up. The daily inefficiencies can have significant impact on your bottom line. Back to the 60% in the previous slide, of the day being productive, that's 1.6 hours per day that's wasted and spent inefficiently. So that's 8 hours per week on average. If you multiply the number of employees by the average hourly wage, then by 52 weeks per year, even at a minimum wage, 15 bucks an hour, that's $6,240 per year per employee in time and wages lost. So legacy technology can make things complex. This is how things look for a lot of small businesses today. Customers' IT infrastructure is becoming increasingly fragmented as they attempt to improve workforce productivity and try to work within budget constraints. The irony is that this fragmentation means the customer is spending more money, but you aren't necessarily making more profit. So when customers add new services and solutions to fill the real and perceived gaps in their IT, they're holding on to legacy systems that are good enough. These legacy systems can take more time to manage, which also impacts, profit margins. Meanwhile, as companies are using many different devices, and whether they know it or not, have a mobile workforce that needs additional security and protection. And studies show that 60% of small companies go out of business within 6 months after a cyber attack. So modern devices definitely yield more productivity. You can see on the different percentage layers on the bottom, 28% faster startup time, 33% less security incidents, 2.5 times better performance, 65% better multitasking, 3% longer battery life, 3 times the amount of less repairs. So the best experience on a modern device, and for many people, is the fastest way to get to Windows 10 is via a new device. So most modern devices with Windows 10 support touch, pen, voice, and gesture inputs with many new features. With Windows Hello, allowing users to move beyond passwords and log in with biometrics such as face and fingerprints. And if you compare to a 4-year-old laptop, new devices start up faster, they're more secure, they have better performance, better multitasking, and all-day battery life. And new devices can save money by being cheaper to maintain than a 4-year-old clunker. So business productivity best practices, right? Having technology do the work for you is always best. It allows you to consolidate your apps. You can use email for external communication only. And you can collaborate all of your security as well. So in our next section, leading practices for working remotely. Next slide, please. What does secure behavior look like? Okay, yeah, we'll go into that. So stories from real businesses. Someone was fooled by the email from the CEO. and used his corporate card to send the iTunes gift cards. We lost about $5,000. This came from a video game rental company with 150 employees. Next, when they got someone's password and sent an email to our CFO, who sent the $40,000 wire transfer, property management company with 150 employees as well. That's a lot of money. And unfortunately, the amount of cyber criminal activity has increased over 600% since the pandemic started. So threat landscapes for small businesses. 43% of cyber attacks target small businesses. The big myth is that, oh, we should be fine. We're not a large corporate entity. 24,000 of malicious mobile apps are blocked every day. 47% of us SMBs have no understanding of how to protect themselves. That's pretty scary. 2.4 million is the average cost of a malware attack on a large company. That's big figures. So why are attacks so successful? It really takes hackers minutes to get into your network, but an average of 279 days for businesses to identify and contain a breach. 21% of all folders in a company are open to everyone. 95% of cybersecurity breaches are due to human error. 55% of SMBs say they don't have the budget to combat cyber risks. This is why cyber attacks persist to take place, especially on small businesses, and are successful mostly because they're unprepared to handle them. And few employees are made aware of common cybersecurity pitfalls. For example, many businesses don't have active, established, and followed policies for how to create or update, passwords or how they share sensitive data. So what are the biggest security pains for small businesses? Email. There's subpar antivirus and anti-spam, which doesn't catch attacks. Users click on ransomware and phishing links that are sent through, or you accidentally send confidential data thinking it's from an executive that did not send that. Hackers are able to mimic what emails look like and almost to a T without spotting maybe one different letter. We're all in a hurry these days, right? So things are not necessarily caught all the time. Mobility, one extreme, prohibit use because of security concerns. On the other, don't provide any protection for data on devices. User credentials. Users have the same passwords across many accounts, which is an increasing risk if it's compromised. Attackers have sophisticated methods to easily steal credentials. Let's see. In compliance, some data security compliance standards don't change based on company size, or they don't apply to businesses with small numbers of employees, which really creates loopholes for attacks. Recent regulations like GDPR, which is General Data Protection Regulation, and others are very rigorous and complex, and small businesses can be intimidated or confused, by them. So the top threats, ransomware is data is the lifeblood of companies, and cyber criminals know that most of their critical information is stored in their networks and systems. We can take a look at some of the top threats in Microsoft Office, starting with ransomware. There's been a significant increase in criminals using ransomware to extort money from victims. And according to the US Department of Justice, these attacks are committed by sophisticated individuals, criminal enterprises, or nation states that can target a range of home users, businesses, networks, or critical infrastructure with laser-like precision to cause widespread damage. In a dollar amount, ransomware costs SMB over $75 billion annually across the globe. That's a pretty significant number. So then you have botnet attacks. And I guess the anatomy of a ransomware attack, is exploitation. Typically, it comes in an email attachment, such as an invoice or a document, etc. The infection takes place. Once open, the ransomware starts to encrypt files without any user interaction or notification. And then the ransom is the alert that the user gets, and they have to provide payment instructions, or they provide the payment instructions to take place, and you either pay or restore it. You pay or restore from backups, or when you pay ransom, it increases the risk of future attacks too. We'll get into the dark web in a little bit of a later segment. And then you've got, so botnet attacks. In 2017, a hacking botnet named Knock Knock was targeted poorly, protected and high value O365 business accounts. And this botnet's still active today. It works by trying to log into a single account a number of times by guessing the system password. And if it's unsuccessful, it moves on to a different account number within an organization. So the botnet keeps a low profile. It makes it difficult for internal IT teams to detect. And then so the anatomy of a botnet attack is it targets high value accounts, keeps a low profile, it exfiltrates data and spreads malware across the network. And it's again, just difficult for internal IT to detect. So insider threats, the biggest threats are inside your company. 57.1% of organizations have at least one insider threat each month, and 45.9% of organizations have at least one privileged user threat each month. A few examples of employee actions that can lead to costly data loss are using weak passwords, low awareness about phishing and other cybersecurity attacks, and the careless handling of data. So we know it's important, but so there's common misconceptions about businesses contribute to the problem. So the one misconception is security is too complex. While SMBs may not have in-house IT departments, that doesn't mean that they can't implement comprehensive security. Technology and services can radically reduce complexity while also providing strong protection. So the other misconception, security is too expensive. Well, SMBs typically spend about 15% of their budget on security, or around $1,320 per user annually. Well, to increase protection, you don't need to necessarily increase IT spend. A lot of times it's just adjusting how you are spending your dollars. With security is not a business priority. It's a huge misconception. Small businesses that deal with customer information, whether they are retail, financial, healthcare, or food services, they have the same accountability to secure their data as big enterprises. So they definitely need enterprise level protection. So when we protect against security threats, with protection for inboxes against spam and viruses, 32% of data breaches involve phishing schemes. With blocking ransomware and phishing attacks, 67% of cybersecurity experts say phishing attempts are the biggest vulnerability for accidental insider threats. Keeping Windows 10 devices safe from malware. 95% of phishing attacks that led to a breach were followed by some form of software installation. So Microsoft 365 Business, it protects against security threats such as spam and viruses distributed via email, ransomware and phishing attacks, some of the more popular types of security threats. Sophisticated malware, another prevalent cybersecurity threat. There's hundreds and hundreds now that you can really discuss. Next slide, please. So the question really is, who reuses their passwords? Really, for example, if your original password was, say, soft kitty, right? Most use the same or similar password used in multiple places. Soft kitty 1 is considered similar. Exclamation soft kitty 1 is as well. When you change the S to a $sign, even with other capitalized letters, it's still kind of a similar password. So any combination of the original word soft kitty is similar and not secure, and it's very easy for cyber criminals to figure out. So with consideration on how secure your passwords are, the minimum password length experts now recommend to avoid being compromised, by brute force cracking is 13. So as analysis of 18 million stolen passwords for cloud services found that 20 passwords constitute 10.3% of all passwords in use. That's pretty crazy. I'm assuming that it would probably be password 1, password 2, et cetera. But about 40% of organizations store privileged and administrative passwords in a Word document or spreadsheet. Unfortunately, that's easily identifiable by cyber criminals once they're in your system. When people are asked to include a number and a password, the majority simply just add a 1 to the end or a 2 at the end. Once the 1 is expired and needs to be reset, they just go to 2. So it's easier for them to figure out. 2/3 of people use no more than 2 passwords for all their online accounts. Once one email is compromised, or one password to an email account is compromised, then it goes everywhere and is sold on the dark web, which we'll get into in a little bit here. The top 10 most used passwords list has barely changed in the last 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, on and on. Password again, and just simple number configurations. Many experts now believe that frequent password changes actually worsen computer security because people tend to choose minor variations of the current password, so they'll be easier, to remember. And then 30% of phishing emails get open. 9 out of 10 phishing emails carried ransomware. That's a large percent. So let's get into what is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is the practice of protecting systems, networks, and programs from digital attacks or cyber attacks. These cyber attacks are usually aimed at accessing, changing, destroying sensitive information, or extorting money from users, or interrupting normal business processes. Common types are, malware, which is malicious software, including spyware, ransomware, worms, and viruses. Spyware is, attacks aim to gather information about a person or organization without their knowledge, and send such information to hack another entity without the consumer's consent. Worms are standalone malware computer programs that replicates itself in order to spread to other computers. It often uses a computer network to spread itself, relying on security failures on the target computer to access it. It will use this machine as a host and then scan and infect other computers. Ransomware, this type of malware from cryptovirology, it threatens to publish the victim's data or perpetually block access to it unless a ransom is paid. And then viruses, computer virus is a type of computer program that, when executed, replicates itself by modifying other computer programs and inserting its own code. When the replication succeeds, the affected areas are then said to be infected with computer viruses. You get pop-up screens. It causes billions of dollars worth of economic damage every year due to causing system failure, wasting computer resources, corrupting data, increasing maintenance costs, and stealing personal information. So we won't get into all these, but the common types of cybersecurity attacks that are most prevalent are denial of service, a DOS attack, phishing attempts again, man-in-the-middle attacks. They're also known as eavesdropping attacks. They occur when attackers insert themselves into a two-party transaction. Once attackers interrupt the traffic, then they can filter and steal data out of that. Zero-day exploits, these are going on. Hits after a network vulnerability is announced, but before a patch or solution is implemented. Attackers target the disclosed vulnerability during the window of time that they have. And then there's SQL injections. So SQL injections, they occur when an attacker inserts malicious code into a server that uses SQL and then forces the server to reveal information it normally wouldn't. An attacker can carry out a SQL injection simply by submitting malicious code into a vulnerable website search box. So there's multitudes of different ways to get into somebody's system, and if they really want to, they will. So some facts and stats. I just found these very interesting. Cyber attacks target small businesses. That's 43%. Only 14% are prepared to defend themselves. That's very scary. Often small businesses think that they have less to protect and won't be a target. Unfortunately, this may make it easier for a hacker to breach a small company instead of a large one. 60% of businesses that go out of business within 6 months of being attacked. That's a huge figure. More than half of impacted businesses reported that cybersecurity incidents forced them to close. $200,000. Cyber attacks are expensive. That's the average cost of incidents for businesses of all sizes in an average. 791 million identities are stolen in the US in 2016. That number has definitely increased significantly. And we're more likely to fall victims of identity theft than anyone else. France was far behind in second place with 85 million identities stolen. So almost 10 times that amount in the US. So how much are you worth? Everything has a price. I mentioned the dark web earlier. It's where a lot of your personal data is sold, packaged and sold. So the dark web, it's the black market, the underground of the internet, where things are being sold that have been either stolen or bought illegally and then resold. Your personal information is worth a lot of money to dark web actors, and it's not difficult to access if you've been involved in any data breaches or cyber attacks. The 2018 dark web figures in US dollars, most all have increased in value into 2020. So how do we spot these scams? Here's some social engineering red flags to look at. If it's in your inbox, if it's not from somebody I ordinarily communicate with, the email is from someone else outside my organization, it's not related to my responsibilities, or the email was sent by a coworker or a client, but it's very unusual or out of character. If the sender's email address is from a suspicious domain like Microsoft.com or Microsoft-support.com, being able to notice that. Or I don't have a relationship with the sender. Or this is an unexpected email with a link or an attachment from someone I haven't communicated with recently. So being able to spot these is kind of usually a number one defense, and it starts with employees. We all have to do our part in order to try to keep our businesses secure as well. So how to spot the scam? Again, with social engineering red flags, furthering with your inbox with email. I was CC'd in an email sent to multiple people, but I don't personally know the other people. Or I received an email that was sent to an unusual mix of people, such as everyone with a last name that starts with the same letter, regardless of the function. Within hyperlinks, when you hover your mouse over a hyperlink that's displayed in the email message, but the link to the address is for a different website. That's one of the easiest things that you can do if somebody's requesting information or anything like that. You don't want to fall into the dark hole. So just hover your mouse over what that link is, and the hyperlink will actually pop up right above it. If you receive emails that only have long hyperlinks with no further information, or you received an email with a hyperlink that is misspelling of a known website, for instance, bankofamerica.com, the M is really, 2 characters, an R and an N, which is really hard to tell and decipher just in this example. When you have, your date and subject, did I receive an email I wouldn't normally receive, but at an unusual time? Did I receive an email with a subject line that's irrelevant or doesn't match the content? Is the email message a reply to something I never sent or requested? In attachments, the sender included an email attachment that I was not expecting or that makes no sense in relation to the email message. The sender doesn't ordinarily send me this type of attachment. Or if I see an attachment with a possibly dangerous file type, the only file type that is always safe is on a text file. Always avoid .exe at all costs. So, within the content, as the sender asks me to click on a link or open an attachment to avoid a negative consequence or to gain something of value. I think everybody's gotten the emails in their junk folder on, hey, we've recorded you from your cell phone on different things. If you don't want this going public, then, you need to send us $1,200. That's a very common one. Is the email out of ordinary, or does it have bad grammar or spelling errors? That's usually a pretty good indication. Is the sender asking me to click a link or open an attachment that seems odd or illogical? Do I have an uncomfortable gut feeling about the sender's request to open an attachment or click on a link? And is the email asking me to look at a compromising or embarrassing picture of myself or someone I know? All these things really, come together. Cybersecurity best practices. So keeping your data secure online it's crucial. Huge recommendation is to use a password manager. A lot of them are inexpensive, $2-3 a month. You'll have one master password, and then they take care of multiple rearrangements of password names on all of the sites and applications that you have passwords to. Especially work-related, use two-factor authentication. Difficult passwords is just one step, but with two-factor authentication, no one can get into your account without a physical device like your smartphone. They'll call and then you push pound and then you do that. Google's got a great authenticator. Microsoft's got a great authenticator as well. And then, be vigilant online. Always err on the side of caution when using the internet. Especially even the most secure locations can become compromised. So think before you click. A lot of times, if you do get an email with a link, and you just go to that site manually yourself instead of clicking through the link if you're unsure. Okay, control who has access to business information. 29% of all breaches are stolen credentials, and 56% of organizations think that weak and reused passwords are the biggest enabler of accidental insider threats. This is true. Only let the good guys in, know who is accessing your data, keep your credentials safe, confirm identities with multi-factor authentication, and quarantine compromised devices. Prevent non-compliant devices from accessing your system. I would say, by actively monitoring and controlling who has access to view your data and who is actually viewing it, and when, Microsoft 365 definitely helps to, ensure employee and business credentials are kept safe. And given that most employees aren't that great at coming up with multiple passwords or fully protecting their login info, Microsoft 365's multi-factor authentication is a lifesaver and makes it more difficult to correctly guess, what Carolyn Accounting's password is when it's password 1. So have an action plan. Take control with the right technology in your corner. Enhance your security by using a password manager and complex passwords. Enable two-factor authentication on all accounts that allow it. Ensure that your collaboration tools have some kind of security login wall, and ensure that you have up-to-date security monitoring, backup, and support from an IT professional, whether you have that in-house or whether you outsource. And the second portion of the action plan is simplifying your tools. You want to assess your current technology, apps, and see where you can reduce any logins. You can use collaboration tools, with your entire team, like contractors, in addition to employees. Collaboration tools should be more than just social networks or messaging. And then migrate to a secure and easy to use platform like Office 365 or Microsoft 365. So Microsoft 365 statistics, it's really kind of changing the way modern businesses get things done. Modern desktop users save 2.3 hours per week due to more efficient collaboration and communication. Knowledge workers have access to the newest collaboration and communication features, including co-authoring documents and using Teams to replace in-person meetings. It's streamlined business processes, reducing the time it takes to develop a new product by 14.18 days, and can save 12,500 hours per year in distribution activities. Information workers save 104 minutes each week with improved online meetings. Intuitive solutions like Teams are more effective in their ability to start meetings on time, to share documents and screens in real time, and to allow participants to engage with one another face to face. Then the secure remote access features mean highly mobile workers save 24 minutes per day accessing systems and information. Microsoft 365, it reduces downtime by an average of 15.75 hours annually for each user. With secure access to information, systems, and people from any device, whenever and wherever is needed, each user can reduce the impact of downtime due to a crash device. Decision makers improve their time to decision by 15.6%. Office 365 creates better access and visibility into data and helps decision makers collaborate with stakeholders more easily. And with Office 365, users can find what they need more easily, collaborate with their peers more efficiently, and make more informed decisions faster than ever before. But with Office 365 solutions, essentially organizations can reduce costs associated with other collaboration software and hardware solutions. Interviewed and surveyed companies had reduced a combination of web conferencing, long distance, mobile phone, and on-premise technology and support costs by switching over to Office 365 or Microsoft 365. Next slide, please. Now we'll get into the security benefits. Safeguarding your business against external threats and leaks with control, and one of the biggest contributors to that is controlling who actually has access to business information. Next slide, please. So you get more done. Monthly updates, they're fully installed and always up-to-date versions of Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint for Windows or Mac. OneNote, some of those features may vary, and access and publish are hard with PC only. Your email and calendars, use your business class email through a rich and familiar Outlook experience. You can access from your desktop or from a web browser, which is real-time synced, and get a 50 gigabit mailbox per user and send attachments up to 150 megabytes. You can work across multiple devices, so get the fully installed Office apps on all your multiple PCs, Macs, tablets, phones, mobiles, across all the devices that you work with. And then it's got definitely the apps to run your business, so you can manage your business better with Microsoft invoicing, Microsoft bookkeeping, or bookings, and then MileIQ, which is an expense program. Okay, working better together. So mobile worker support. You can easily support SMBs that want to work anywhere from any device. External collaboration help SMBs look more professional as they engage in email and online with customers, coworkers, and suppliers. You get enterprise grade security. Enable access to those who need it and keep out those who don't. And then real-time teamwork, it enables SMBs to work together in one solution with shared docs and online meetings. So many businesses get stuck before they even get started. The processes undermine productivity. Your systems dictate how you work. Your security threats disrupt workflow, and limited systems can drain your budget. With business class email, it really helps you work smarter. You get better functionality, better flexibility, better security, and definitely creates savings. Microsoft provides the secure, reliable business class email and calendar, and you need that helps you get ahead. Helping protect your business. The built-in email security helps protect against external threats, data leaks, and device misuse. Protects your inbox against spam, viruses, ransomware, and phishing scams with anti-malware and anti-spam filtering. Prevents unauthorized users from opening sensitive documents or viewing private information. And it sets restrictions on how business information may be copied and saved. Secure devices by creating approved mobile lists, enforcing PIN locks, and enabling remote data wipes. So with Microsoft 365, you get everything, all the security features that you can fathom, and you can maintain productivity and stay connected with your team by communicating, sharing, and collaborating, especially with Microsoft Teams. A lot of people use Zoom. A lot of people use various programs. When you have everything, if you're on Office 365 or Microsoft 365, it's all included. So when you have other applications, and one of the big things with Zoom too is it's still not fully secure. So a majority of companies today, they've got an internal team or they either outsource their IT. So I wanted to discuss a little bit further what's a managed service provider. Managed services, the practice of outsourcing the responsibility for maintaining and anticipating needs for a range of processes and functions in order to improve operations and cut expenses. It's an alternative to the complicated, hard to plan, break fix outsourcing model where the service provider performs on-demand services and bills the customer only for the work done. And it is a consultative, proactive approach, taking the burden of IT away, allowing you to move the business forward. So do you actually need managed IT support? The top signs your organization can benefit from an MSP with a relationship with an MSP. So if you don't have any in-house or your IT staff is a little bit understaffed, if you have complex or frequent, technical problems, you work with critical and sensitive information, you have a limited or unpredictable IT budget, or you have slow processes or frequent downtime. So here's what we do with our approach with Fuse Networks. At the end of the day, we know it's not about the technology used, but about being successful serving our clients through that technology. Let us help you, focus on your IT systems, and we can worry about the complexities that go along with it. So we start with standard IT policies. We set the framework for a repeatable process, a reliable support, and the ability to grow your business. We prioritize the risk and impact of each, so things are improved without bringing your business to a halt. Security management. Overbearing security policies can create massive slowdowns, and no security leaves your business at risk. So Fuse what we'll do is we'll assess your risk with you and help you determine what security policies need to be implemented. Systems monitoring. This starts with tending to your existing IT investment. Early detection can prevent issues before they affect your bottom line. And let us keep a watchful eye over your system so you are free to focus on your business priorities. Business continuity. The future is unpredictable. So downtime and data loss can strike any time. Our 3-2-1 backup strategy provides you with the reliability needed to protect your assets and reputation when disasters do occur. Compliance management. Compliance can be extremely stressful. So working with a partner that understands the protocols, policies, and procedures associated with it will ensure that you're compliant and audit ready. And we do it all at a predictable cost. Budgeting for IT can be complex, especially when multiple vendors and applications and licenses are involved. We will show you what it will cost to bring on a new employee or to open that new location, and what our services look like as well too. And that creates peace of mind. So you can focus on managing your business with a team that understands your vision and future. I guess kind of like getting your oil checked. You go in for one service, but then they perform 50 other perspectives, like looking at your wipers, your lights, your other fluid levels, making sure that everything is all set for you. Next slide, please. So with Fuse Networks, our expertise, we're experts in the managed IT solutions arena. We've got 24/7, 365 proactive monitoring. We have advanced network security and protection, backup and disaster recovery, business continuity. We specialize in Microsoft O365 licensing and support. We are a Microsoft Gold partner. We do a lot of strategic planning, VCIO, creating technology success. So it's a virtual CIO. We also do VoIP Cloud PBX phone solutions. We have an extremely strong HIPAA compliance program and a comprehensive help desk. So we can help you realize the potential of your IT by we would perform a complimentary network and security assessment for you. We would do a dark web scan against domains for compromised emails and passwords associated with those. And you get faster results, increased reliability, and enterprise level technology solutions at costs geared towards small businesses. So you're not going to break the bank. Next slide, please. And this is the final slide. I thank everybody again for attending this webinar. Are you ready to improve your business? We want you to stop worrying about IT. That's why we're here. So focus on your business and moving your business forward. Book a complimentary consultation now. You can simply go on our website, and there's a free assessment tab that you can hit, fill out some information, and we'll arrange a time to get together and go through that entire process with you. So again, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I hope you found my presentation informative and brought to light some things that you might not have understood or as well, or didn't know that was out there at all. So thank you again. I appreciate your attendance.
Perfect. Thank you, Aaron. And we do have some questions that have come through. So
Okay.
get ready to, answer some questions.
Sure, sure.
For those of you who are joining through Zoom, go ahead and type your questions into the Q&A feature right there at the bottom of your screen. And I'll go ahead and start off with some questions here. What is the biggest security threat to work from home workers, and how can non-technical people prevent it? I think you talked a little bit about that with the password protections and things like that. But if there was one great, security risk that you see for kind of the, average, home user, what is it and how do we prevent it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it definitely is just being able to spot different phishing schemes coming in through emails. That's the number one thing. I mean, depending upon what your title is, what your business is, cyber criminals they're extremely knowledgeable. They will throw things that are enticing in front of you in order for you to click that. Again, it's hovering over that link. Is it to what it actually says it is? Is it to a website that looks familiar but looks misspelled? And then bigger things too, like I said, your internet, provider. A lot of time with Comcast, I know for a fact that they do free Norton antivirus. It's free, and then you can also create a VPN with that, further securing your devices. But yeah, just I would say the biggest thing is email. Just things that go in your junk mail, they're usually going into your junk mail for a reason. They're sorted in there for a reason. Just be smart as employees. You really are the first line of defense for your organization. So a lot of companies have really started to implement security awareness into their programs. So you get a lot out of that, but just be smart, I guess. For the best term, the best response to that is just be smart. So
I think it's good, just that stop and pause, right? Like you said, before you hit reply, before you click, just take a pause. This kind of leads into another question that we have here, which is we see a lot of companies that put warnings on emails, right? Like you said, if email is the number one threat, right? Companies are very focused on protecting email. And it'll say, attention, from outside the organization, or, it actually like gives like a warning.
yep.
Is that something that you would recommend that, all companies
Yeah,
create?
so that's just going to depend on the level of malware that you have, antivirus protection, all that kind of type stuff. There's a lot of different varieties and levels to those. It really depends on what's going to be most appropriate for your environment, and that's just a later discussion on really kind of figuring out what you have and going through a security assessment and where vulnerabilities lie, within your security. Um,
Yeah, I think you said, most of the error, it's 95%, human errors, right?
mhm.
So it's the like, oops, I shouldn't have clicked that, right? Or, like, oh, I, forgot to, update my password or whatever. So like you said, it's just being diligent with your
That is,
tool.
and I would definitely say that's the other big thing, especially working remotely is get a passwords manager. It's so easy to do. It's relatively very inexpensive. There's a lot of varieties of them, but just to have one main password that you can have complex, but then have that password manager complicate all the other passwords. A lot of times, when you get temporary passwords, it's 28 characters long and there is absolutely no rhyme or reason for it. That's usually what a password manager will do, and they'll keep track of all those for you. So you don't have to remember any of that. You don't have to have, Google remember your passwords, which that can become a vulnerability in itself. But yeah, password manager is something that is very important.
Perfect. And so then this question comes a little bit more about hardware. So you mentioned legacy devices versus, modern devices,
Sure.
and,
So
yeah, what's the difference?
yeah,
When does a
what I
modern
mean by
device
that,
become legacy?
yeah, no worries. I mean, we've had a lot of security assessments lately, which they'll basically identify all of your assets, figure out what software is installed on them, especially laptops. Windows 7 is no longer supported. It can be, and it's very expensive, but it won't be much longer. They stopped support on that a while ago. That's a huge infiltration opportunity for cyber criminals to get into your system. They figured out a lot of different ways around different things. So with Windows 10, you get the automatic, patching updates, all that stuff, keeping all of that relative and fresh, as opposed to older technology that is can create opportunity for intrusion in a lot higher percentage.
Perfect. Great. And then kind of along those same lines of, hardware, are Macs, considered safer than PCs if we're using, our smartphones? Is there a safer, version,
Not
of
necessarily. I
smartphones?
mean, if you do your software updates, I force myself to, once a week, I will. I mean, you see your app store, right? And it'll tell you how many updates there are. Just keep them updated, because all the individual apps that you have on your phone, their development teams are coming out with different security patches to keep those applications safe and secure. From an application standpoint too. Have you seen I'm sure everybody's seen the, get paid to play solitaire all day, like be smart about it. If it's too good to be true, it usually is. So don't jeopardize yourself, by taking some of those routes or making some of those decisions.
Good advice. What is the best strategy or steps you can take if you do receive a ransomware threat email? Just delete it. Just ignore it. Should you forward
Yeah,
it to your
if you
IT
see it,
team?
delete it. Definitely don't open any links. Notify your IT team, whether that be in-house or outsourced. A lot of times, especially in Outlook, there will be, in fact, I'll pull it up and tell you exactly how that looks and whatnot. But there's a report button or a tab on the upper right-hand side, so you can report, bad activity, that kind of type stuff. That'll usually your IT team can have that forwarded into themselves. It will always go back to Microsoft too, so they can apply different things and figure out where things are coming from.
Perfect. Great. This question, has a little bit more to do with, social media. Lots of businesses, also use social media. How do you stay safe on social media? And a question about, it seems sometimes you'll get, ads on your social media feed about something that you maybe just were talking about. Are there security settings, on your smartphones or devices that you also need to be aware of, or, extra protections with that?
Yeah, I mean, take Facebook for example, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that you can go into your profile and settings, and things you want to see, things you don't want to see, all that stuff. I mean, Facebook can't block everything out, right, from a security standpoint. So again, it's just being smarter. I fell victim at one point last year for something that came in on Facebook that was this battery operated motorized like little boat thing, and it it was $19. It should have been like $400, right? So just making sure you're not clicking on things that are too good to be true, or don't look like it belongs in reality, right? So being smart is the number one thing. But yeah, you can go into your settings on Facebook and alter some different things, or increase some different things too. So
Perfect. So Now, when it comes to accessing the internet, you mentioned, Comcast has some free Norton, virus protection. How safe, are Comcast customers? How vulnerable, are our routers, our, home internet routers? And, are there additional precautions that need to be taken now that, we are working at home with, home
Mhm.
routers?
Yeah, I think, the number one thing that you can do, I mean, just from a very simplistic protection is that your Wi-Fi, have a password for it. Don't make it so it's easily accessible. It's another big thing too, when you're on the go and you're mobile, say you're at the airport waiting on a flight and you're doing some work and you're attached to the public network. I mean, be very careful that you're not sending, sensitive documents, anything like that across public airwaves, I guess, per se. If you're at home, I mean, yeah, I mean, companies, Comcast as well as others. I mean, sure, their Wi-Fi when it gets to your house, yeah, there's certain security principles to it. Or is it 100% safe? No, nowhere is really, but there's depending upon the levels of complexities you want to get into, there's various modes of protection, but definitely, take advantage of at least the free stuff. It's an added layer that, will help you and help you stay safe or safer than you were before. But I mean, at a minimum, at least have a password on your Wi-Fi.
Perfect, great. I know you talked about this a little bit, but could you explain in a little bit more detail what a VPN is, and should we all be using, VPNs, or
Yeah, not
can,
necessarily. I mean, it's basically, it creates a virtual private network. So it's your own. Things stay within that. Whether you're on the go, whether you're at home, whether you're at work, depending upon what connectivity that you have, whether it's your corporate Wi-Fi or whatever. It's an added layer of security. You can with most remote work, we can set that up for you. Typically, it's not something that most people are comfortable with doing themselves. So, but yeah, if you have opportunity to do that, like I said, the free Norton with Comcast, it'll set up a VPN for you. So it's just an added layer of security that you didn't have before, and that's across all your devices too. So.
perfect. And so I have a couple more questions here. So this is just kind of final call for questions. If there is something that you want to ask Aaron, go ahead and type it into the comments section on Facebook or into the Q&A function here on Zoom. So we've got just, two more questions here. And then if we don't get any more, that will be it for questions. This question has to do with passwords. So you talked a little bit about password, what makes a good password. It needs to be 13 characters, at least, and it would be good to get a password manager. But do you have a recommendation, for what a good password, manager is, or what people should be using, and maybe even how often we should be changing those passwords with the password manager?
Yeah. So any password manager is going to have, they're going to have their own rules applied on how often you're going to change that master password. You can have it set to change all other passwords as frequently as you like. There's it depends on your level of fear, I guess, per se. But they vary. I mean, just do a Google search on password managers. I mean, it range anyway. There's some free ones, which anything that's free that you might be a little hesitant on. At least pay a couple of dollars a month to have someone do that, so they're not relying on ad revenue. But you can pay up to $25-$30 a month. It really depends on the value of your data, I guess, um, how important it is to you. And, sometimes a lot of times you just need to ask yourself, what would I do if it were all lost? So, you just evaluate those and then you can kind of make your own decisions. There's a lot of different options, feature levels to each one too. So, find the one that fits you the best.
Perfect. And so this next one just kind of has to do with our physical space, right? So we're doing lots of, video events or meetings, and there's lots of things that, could be in the background or things that are happening. People are, sharing close spaces, right? So physically close to each other, at home. How do you also kind of be mindful of what your physical space is and how, someone could, maybe look at something in your physical space that could leave you vulnerable, your technology vulnerable?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it kind of extends from the previous smart webinar 2 weeks ago. But I would definitely say make your space and set those expectations when you are working from home. Most of us we're contending with being part-time teachers as well, kids running around, noise, distractions all over the place. Just make it an expectation that when you're in your home office, or if you're in a certain area, whatever that is designated, that that be respected, because work from home, the first word is work. So it's not just you're at home. It's there's expectations that you still need to fulfill. And just from a security practice, I mean, even though you are at home, you're not in your office. It's still easy to just, if you step away from your laptop or whatnot, just lock your laptop, just sign out and then sign back in when you're ready to return. I mean, that's probably one of the simplest modes. That's usually a good start. But yeah, just really setting expectations to how you work and where you work with everybody else that is in that vicinity.
Perfect. Any final thoughts, Aaron?
Final thoughts. I mean, like I said, it's a crazy world that we live in today. It's a new world. There's lots of different opportunities that cyber criminals are figuring out and realizing, and it's ever changing, right? So protect yourself, protect your business, and most importantly, if you really don't understand from a business standpoint where your security posture is, it's okay to ask. A lot of people are scared to talk about it because they want to know, but they don't want to know. It could mean their job, like, wow, I can't believe how vulnerable we are. Just those kind of questions. I mean, we can help you through that. It's something that most everybody struggles with. It's a huge pain. We'll help you at least realize, hey, here's where you are. This is where we want to get where we want to get you to, and these are the remediation efforts that need to take place in order to get there, and we'll put together a plan and all that stuff too. So yeah, we're extremely easy to work with, and most importantly, I mean, we just want to let you know where you are, as a lot of people really don't. And I don't think if most everybody out there, if you really asked yourself, like, well, where do we lie from a security posture standpoint, there's not going to be a lot of I know exactly where we're at answers.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I think it's a good reminder that, we need to do these checkups periodically, right? We need, we go to the doctor every year, like you mentioned, you're get your oil changed in your car. This is, something similar to, do these periodic check-ins just to make sure that, everything's functioning the way that it needs to be. So again, thank you so much, Aaron, and, thank you to Fuse Networks for being here to, share some, best practice and some good reminders, for all of us. Really appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure, and thank you to the Chamber for allowing me to host this smart webinar series, and thank you for the chapter members for attending this event. I hope you got something out of it, and if there's further questions, I'm always available, so feel free to contact me.
Perfect. Again, thank you so much. And thank you to Scott, South King Media. Thank you to Alaska Airlines. And again, thank you to everyone who made the time to join us today. This webinar will be posted to our website so that you can view and share it later. So if there's something that you missed and you want to go back and listen again, you can find that at SeattleSouthsideChamber.com. /SMART, SMART. You can also donate directly to our work there. Again, even a small donation helps us continue to serve our community, and we are grateful and deeply appreciate any and all contributions. You can also find information about our future events coming up, including our Women of Influence event next Wednesday and our awards celebration. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend and goodbye.